General Kale Kayihura's leadership as the head of the Uganda Police Force for 13 years has several descriptions depending on who speaks. At one point, the president hailed him as a loyal cadre.
But Kale Kayihura was an active cadre who implemented that aspect of our strategy very actively.
Whereas the opposition had frosty relationship with the police force and him. On 13th September, the U.S. publicly designated Kayihura under Section 7031C of the 2019 fiscal year Department of State over his involvement in gross violations of human rights. Former Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kayihura, was sanctioned using the Magnitsky Act. Now, this does not require him to be taken to court in the U.S., but has far-reaching economic implications, and it only calls for accountability in regards to human rights violations.
It is a political action against individuals who have violated what they see as American law. General Kale Kayihura cannot transact even something as simple as a mobile money transaction. And if it does so, the financial institutions, if so reported, will be subject to US government sanctions.
If the EU joins in the sanctions, it means that again they cannot transact with any EU country, and they will only trade maybe with their village mates.
General Kale Kayihura responded and said, I quote, "I do not own and have never owned any property in the United States or anywhere else outside Uganda. I do not have any bank accounts outside my country, Uganda." The insinuations in the statement that I could own any property outside Uganda are totally fabricated and malicious. The freezing of my so-called assets, therefore, is comical. He added that there is no person who was tortured under my instruction or with my knowledge in a police facility in Uganda. In the president's Sunday letter, he says no Ugandan shall be handed over to the International Criminal Court, adding that it would be treasonous for the former IGP to have investments outside the country.
We all know that Kale Kayihura is charged under the military court-martial and for crimes specifically for repatriation of refugees and failure to supervise arms or military equipment. So how are these related to torture?
If President Museveni wanted to deal with General Kale Kayihura, there are hundreds of cases of grave human rights violation that General Kale Kayihura superintended over or that happened under his watch. But he's never been charged for any of those trials, any of those cases.
Opio notes that Museveni is giving false hope to his acting officers who could be walking down the same path as Kayihura's.
People at JAT, people at CMI, people at ISO. And yet President Museveni needs them to continue doing their work. And so he wants to send a very strong message to them that I will protect you if anybody comes after you. But in so doing, I think he's making misrepresentations about the sanctions that the US government has slapped on General Kale Kayihura.
For now, General Kale Kayihura's accounts and properties in the US, if any, will fall under the Office of the Foreign Assets Control, which is a financial intelligence and enforcement agency of the US Treasury Department. Walter Mwesije, NTV.